Today we're going to look at 3 of the most important processes contributing to stress and mood management. Moods are most certainly a byproduct of circumstances and individual context, but it's also important to remember that we are an incredibly dynamic and complicated soup of biochemistry. Moods are a direct result of our basic biology, how we eat, move, and sleep. Our composition is operated by many systems of the body, all of which are governed by chemicals. When these conditions are imbalanced or neglected, our chemical process is imbalanced, and that creates shifts in our attention, intention, expression, and overall function. We have to make sure that we are eating regularly. Missing meals signals stress to the brain. If the body is cueing us that it is hungry and we deny it, its natural response is going to be one of stress or lack, and it's going to start shifting into basic survival, which means it's going to slow down cognition, slow down metabolism, it's going to stockpile calories, increase inflammation, and do all of the things necessary for preparing for threat. Missing meals also makes us very cranky. Brains and their corresponding chemical moods do not work well without consistent nutrients.
It's really easy when we're stressed to reach for those foods that are more comfort foods, the things that are high in sugar, high in carbs. Some of us, it's that salt vinegar quality, and that makes sense because when we're in high stress, we're in this lower part of the brain, this caloric intake, this part of the brain that is always seeking reward and pleasure. And this is the part of the brain that is going to want that little hit of dopamine. And we feel really good when most of us sometimes feel really good when we eat dessert when we're stressed. I do not find it a coincidence that stressed, spelled backwards, is dessert. So this isn't to say that we can't indulge and that we can't have treats, but it is to say that we have to be really self-aware and honest in our self-assessment. If we are experiencing super high levels of stress, if we're already emotionally pretty moody and unpredictable, maybe we want to encourage ourselves to reach a little less for that stress food and a little bit more for the food that is going to help us manage the stress.
What we eat has a chemical response in the body that significantly affects our biological processes and our moods. Good foods that are anti-inflammatory are going to help calm the inflammation that is induced from that kind of chronic puffer fish that we think of in our state of fight, flight, freeze, or that go state that is induced by chronic stress. Foods that are high in antioxidants are going to help flush those toxic stress hormones and also mitigate the damage from free radical exposure from environmental factors. And lastly, foods that are rich in high protein are going to help promote positive neuroconnection in the brain. They're going to promote building of new neural pathways, and in doing so, they're going to increase our levels of alertness and energy.
In addition to considering foods for our moods, we also want to consider intake of 2 other really important properties. The first being lots of water. Dehydration has a profound impact on our ability to digest, process, and eliminate whatever foods we're eating. And dehydration has a really significant effect on our memory and our concentration. It also affects our energy level. So a lot of times when we're fatiguing in the middle of the workday, we'll go and grab that coffee, or we'll grab that dessert, we'll grab that thing that is a stimulant. And really what is in our nervous system's best interest is hydration. Another really beneficial technique is a daily supplement of a probiotic. Probiotics are really very instrumental in helping us digest. And this is so important because there is a scientifically proven direct correlation between our gut health and our mental health. The gut is also the place where we store and produce and release the most amount of serotonin. And serotonin is a super, super important chemical for managing mood and creating happiness.
Another significant source of chemical balance occurs from regular movement. Exercise, whether rigorous or more gentle, strengthens brain tissue. This makes us more resistant to stress and aging.
An expression that I like to use a lot is stand up, sit less, and move more. So movement is important throughout the course of the day. Even, let's say that you work a 9-hour workday, and after your 9-hour workday, you go and work out like Rocky Balboa for 3 hours in the evening. Although that's going to have obvious benefits and stress management, science is proving that we can't just have spurts of exercise in one condensed time, but rather what is more optimal for our overall mental health and physical health is to have consistent little doses of movement or exercise throughout the day. To consider the very simple and accessible value of resting for success.
During the day, we are faced with various challenges that cause our brain and body to be constantly releasing chemicals that are preparing us for action. Sleep is that wonderful space that allows us to restore, to renew, and to de-escalate from those heightened states of arousal.
Managing our toxic stress can be very simple. We need to consider how we're moving, how we're eating, and how we're sleeping. Everything in balance and everything in consistency. The more consistent we are in these behaviors, the more we're going to be able to minimize that toxic stress response, and the more stable and steady we're going to be in our moods and emotional responses. As always, I thank you so much for your time and attention. I look forward to chatting with you in the future. Reach out directly to me if you have questions, comments, or concerns.